Underdog was humble and lovable. Humble.
So I went back to Cape Cod, where I was living at the time, and went on up to Chet, and I met only once a week. Chet Stover's partner, who created all our series with me. Anyway, we met once a week in Framingham, Massachusetts, at a place called the 1812 House. So we met there this week, and he knew I'd had the meeting with Gordon, but I hadn't told him what it was about. So we had to do our usual work. You know, the series we had plotted the week before, we had written them individually. Now we had to go over those and agree that everything was fine. And then we had to plot maybe 2 new Tennessees or a Hunter or some of the other episodes. So we got through all that, and then we finally got to our lunch. And so he said, okay. I'm seeing that grin on your face. I know you got something to say. What the heck happened with Gordon? So I told him, and I remember him, no frogs. And I said, yeah, Gordon said that Jay Ward's going to use a frog for his chief character in his new series. So Chet said to me, Nancy hates this joke. Chet said to me, well, you know what that means, don't you? They've already got the jump on us.
But it was Chet's joke.
So he said, what are the guidelines? I said, no guidelines except that. He just said it's got to be a super series if we want to win a spot, and no frogs. And that's it. And the world is our oyster. The series can take place anywhere, outer space, under space, in the United States, England, you know, anything, and any kind of series. Boy, that's wonderful. And no guidelines of any kind. That's it. A super series and no frogs. So we were really excited. I laid down the suggestion for what we would do. We'd come up with each come up with 5 new series, and the following week with those 10, we'd hone it down to 2 and really finish one and keep one in our back pockets, just so, you know, sometimes you take a presentation out and it just tanks right there, and you better have something else in your pocket just in case. So
could I interrupt you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I just did.
Yeah.
Okay. Because when you said this about, I know, a super series, he said this just like Simon Bar Sinister. Do you all remember Simon Bar Sinister?
Okay, anyway.
And do just a little 2-second of Simon Bar Sinister. Because he had to pitch it.
All right, Underdog. Simon says, go snow.
So forgive me. He's not only the underdog, he's the Simon, he's all of the characters. He pitched them all.
Someone earlier saying Simon says stronger cell phones.
Oh!
You missed that. So where the heck was it? Okay. So that's it. We were each going to come up with 5 new series. So we went home, did our regular work during the week, and then came back the following week. And when we came back, we knew that the other partner had changed spirit. But we didn't even speak on the phone that week. But somehow both of us had turned from way up here, the world is our oyster, to way down here. And we didn't talk about it until lunch, when we finally admitted that what happened with the world is our oyster, any kind of series you want, it now meant, what good is that? We had come up with some great ideas, like one was The Empire State Building is Alive, which was really a great series idea. And If I Were Humphrey Bogart, that was another one. And The Second Greatest Show on Earth. I remember those 3. Anyway, we had 10 great ideas, but what the heck? We could come up with 50 more. So what? Where do you hone in? Why? Any series, anywhere in the world, any kind, any type. It turned out that now that any kind of series was no guidelines. And all of a sudden, Jay Ward, we laughed about Jay Ward's frog. Now all of a sudden we realized he'd already told General Mills he must be out there already. He had great contacts at the mills. He must be out there already pre-selling them. We didn't have a prayer. We were already doomed before we started work. So we said, we've got to have some kind of guidelines. We'll have to create our own guidelines. So go back to the meeting with Gordon Johnson. What exactly did he say? And I said, he said, no frogs and a super series. So that was it. We took that. A super series. All of a sudden, we decided we'd never done a superhero. So the word superhero, I only got on, we'll do a superhero. But right away, we knew we could never do a serious super. We'd go crazy. We couldn't write like it. It would be something we'd hate. So we wanted to do a superhero series that could be taken as for real with young kids, little kids, and taken as camp for older kids and adults. You had to sell to adults, you know, as well as the kids. In those days, there was only one TV set in the house, you know, in most homes. So, you know, if the older brother didn't like it, the little brother didn't get to watch it, you know, or if mother hated it, she'd turn the set off or change it to something else. So we were, as well as you sold to adults, and you know, you wouldn't think so, but you go out and sell to people at General Mills, a big audience like this, you're selling to these people, and if they don't laugh, you can't say to them, oh, you don't laugh, but the kids will laugh. They think that's right. Forget it. You've got to make them laugh. So we decided our super series would be, if you think about it, like superhero, those characters, they come crashing through the roof and nothing ever happens, but we'd have the ceiling fall on all the people, you know, they come crashing, our hero would crash into the bank and the ceiling would fall on the people, and they'd shoot bullets, criminals would shoot bullets at it, and the bullets would ricochet off and nearly hit all the people that were around. And so we would do all that kind of stuff. And we decided we wouldn't have a typical superhero. We would have one that was a 98-pound weakling. In those days, there was a strong man called Charles Atlas, and you used to see all these ads with his holding up like it. And he always talked about, don't get sand kicked in your face like a 98-pound weakling. So we decided we'd have the 98-pound weakling who looked like he'd get sand kicked in his face. So we thought that was funny. So we had some ground rules, but we didn't have enough. We didn't have any name, and we didn't know exactly where we were going. So we said, okay, we'll go home, and we'll this time come up with 10 animal superhero titles. And then when we get back, we'll look at those and hone it down to one or two. And also, because of what had happened with Tennessee Tuxedo, when we found the voice and Don Adams, we found him before we had anything. He gave us the whole idea. We thought he looked like a penguin, and we did the whole series around.
You did. I did.
So now we said we got to be on the lookout for a voice. But to match what we had, the 98-pound weakling and all the comedy stuff, we couldn't think of anybody except one. That was Don Knotts. And we thought, hey, not bad. But his voice, although when you see him, his voice is kind of distinctive, particularly when he was, you know, getting bravado with Andy Griffith. But he was a lot like, in a way, Don Adams, a little close. And so we wanted something that was different. But we couldn't think of anybody. And then that week, a movie came out called Spencer's Mountain. Henry Fonda movie. And actually it was the basis, if you remember, of the Waltons.
You remember it?
The Waltons. But in the movie, not in the series, but in the movie, was a reverend played by Wally Cox. Our perfect 98-pound weakling. We saw it and we said, that's not only our voice, just like with Don Adams, that's our character. He's going to look like Wally Cox. Our hero is going to look like Wally Cox. So